I used to believe my daughter had the perfect marriage. A loving husband, a stable home, and a future that seemed unshakable. For years, I praised Daniel, the man who had effortlessly won not only my daughter's heart but the admiration of our entire family. He was polite, dependable, and always knew the right things to say. If someone had asked me to name a flaw, I wouldn't have found one. Daniel had a way of making people feel safe. He laughed at my husband's old jokes, helped my grandson with his homework, and never missed a family gathering. I often told my friends how lucky my daughter, Emily, was. Men like Daniel are rare, I would say, convinced that her life was as perfect as it seemed, but looking back, I realize that perfection is often a carefully curated illusion. The first crack appeared on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I was setting the table while Emily and Daniel played with their son in the backyard. Laughter filled the air, the kind of easy joy that made life feel warm and whole. But when I glanced up from the window, I caught something that didn't belong, a flicker of unease in Daniel's expression. He was holding his phone, his body slightly turned away, typing quickly as if afraid to be seen. It was brief. A split second. But something about the way he stiffened when Emily called his name sent a strange chill through me. I brushed it off. Maybe it was nothing. Or maybe I didn't want to believe otherwise. Days passed, and the feeling lingered. Small things began to stand out. Daniel had always been present, attentive, but suddenly, he seemed distracted. He would excuse himself during meals to take calls, his voice low and hurried. He stopped making eye contact as often, and when he did, there was something guarded in his gaze. Then, there were the late nights. Daniel had always been home by 6, like clockwork. But now, he worked late. Too late. Emily reassured me it was just a busy season at the office, but her voice lacked conviction. I noticed the way she watched him now, the faint crease in her brow when he came home past midnight, mumbling something about deadlines. Still, I said nothing. I had no proof, just a growing discomfort that settled in my chest like a weight. Then, the moment that sealed my doubts came unexpectedly. One evening, while visiting Emily's house, I went to retrieve my phone from the living room when I saw Daniel's phone, screen still glowing, abandoned on the armrest. A name flashed across the top, one I didn't recognize, followed by a message that made my breath hitch. I miss you. When can we meet again? A slow, terrible realization crept over me. The perfect family I had admired for so long was beginning to fracture. And for the first time, I wondered if it had ever been real at all. I stared at the message on Daniel's phone, my pulse hammering. The words blurred for a moment as disbelief clashed with the truth I didn't want to accept. I miss you. When can we meet again? For a long moment, I hesitated. This was his personal phone, his private conversation. Snooping wasn't something I had ever done before. But the weight in my chest told me that whatever lay beneath this message was something I could no longer ignore. I glanced toward the kitchen, where Emily was laughing softly as she prepared dinner, unaware of the storm brewing in the next room. I could hear Daniel talking to my grandson, his voice light, carefree, like a man with nothing to hide. But I knew better now. My fingers hovered over the screen. Just one more message. One more glimpse to confirm my worst fears. Before I could make a decision, the phone vibrated again. A new message. Same place as last time? I can't stop thinking about you. A sharp breath escaped me. My grip on the phone tightened. There was no misinterpreting this. It wasn't a misunderstanding, a work-related text, or a harmless exchange between friends. This was betrayal, plain and simple. My hands trembled as I placed the phone back where I found it, my mind racing. How long had this been going on? Who was she? Did Emily know? A dozen questions swirled, each one heavier than the last. Dinner that night was unbearable. Every glance Daniel threw at Emily, every smile he gave their son, felt like a performance. I studied him in a way I never had before, his casual charm, his easy laughter. How many lies had he told under this same roof, at this very table? Emily, oblivious to the battle raging inside me, asked if I was feeling unwell. I forced a smile, nodding. Just a little tired, I lied, but I wouldn't rest. Not now. That night, while the house slept, I made my decision. If Daniel had secrets, I was going to find them. The next morning, I feigned cheerfulness as I joined Emily for coffee, casually asking about Daniel's schedule. "Working late again?" I probed. She sighed, stirring her tea absent-mindedly. "Yes. It's been happening a lot lately. He says the new project is demanding." A lie. I knew it now. I had to see it with my own eyes. So that evening, as Daniel kissed Emily goodbye and left for work, I followed him. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter with every mile, my heart pounding. He wasn't heading to his office. He took a different route, one that led to a quiet, dimly lit parking lot behind a boutique hotel. Then, as I watched from a safe distance, the final betrayal unfolded before me. Daniel stepped out of his car, and moments later, a woman emerged from the hotel's entrance. She smiled, walking straight into his arms, and just like that, the last remnants of doubt shattered into dust. "3 days passed, and Aaron didn't notice the cabinet had been fixed. Not that I expected a parade, but the silence stung in its own special way. He came and went as usual, late nights, distracted mornings, shallow conversations that barely skimmed the surface. I mentioned Chris once, casually, over dinner. "Oh, by the way, the cabinet's fixed. I had someone come in." Aaron didn't even look up from his plate. Good. That was it. No curiosity, no questions. Just good. As if our home ran on autopilot and I was just another programmed function. I should have left it alone. I should have swallowed the ache and let it pass. But something inside me snapped. "You know, it used to matter to you, fixing things around here. You used to take pride in it." He finally looked up, eyes glazed with exhaustion. "I've been working 12-hour days, Maya. I'm not ignoring you, I'm just tired." "Tired isn't an excuse to stop caring," I said quietly. He sighed, rubbed his temples, and said nothing. That night, I laid in bed beside him, staring at the ceiling while he snored softly, his back turned. The space between us on the mattress felt like a canyon. I remembered when we used to fall asleep tangled together, his arm wrapped around my waist like a promise. Now, even our dreams seemed to avoid each other. The next morning, I stared at Chris's handwritten number on the fridge. It wasn't even about him, it was about what he represented. Presence. Attention. Simplicity. I texted him, "Hey, this is Maya, the cabinet fixer. Wondering if you're available to take a look at the back door. The lock's a bit sticky." His reply came almost instantly, "Sure thing. I'm finishing a job nearby. I can be there around noon." When he arrived, the energy shifted. Again, Chris stepped into the house like he'd been there 100 times before. Not out of arrogance, but ease. Like he understood the rhythm of quiet rooms and unspoken tension. "This one giving you trouble?" he asked, wiggling the lock with a practiced hand. "Yeah," I said. "Been sticking for a while. I kept telling myself I'd fix it. I guess I got used to it being broken." He glanced at me. "Funny how we do that, isn't it?" Our eyes locked for a second too long. This time, the silence between us wasn't awkward. It pulsed, low, slow, charged. He got to work, but the air felt different. Not inappropriate. Just undeniably alive. Like two people standing on the edge of something they didn't have a name for yet. He adjusted the lock. I stood a few feet away, arms crossed, heart racing for no logical reason. You always this focused? I asked, mostly to break the tension. He smiled without looking up. When something matters, yeah. I didn't know if he meant the door or the conversation, or something else entirely. When he finished, he stood up and wiped his hands on a rag. Try it now. I did. Smooth. Effortless. Like the door had been waiting for him all along. You really know your way around broken things, I said softly. Chris tilted his head. That's the thing about broken things. Most aren't beyond repair. People just stop trying. That line stayed with me long after he left. That night, Aaron came home late again, muttering something about a client dinner. I sat alone in the kitchen, fingertips grazing the now smooth lock. Everything was in its place, yet nothing felt right. My phone buzzed. A text from Chris, let me know if anything else needs fixing. I stared at the screen for a long time. Something did, but it wasn't the house. Rain tapped softly on the windows, the kind of drizzle that blanketed the world in quiet. I stood in the kitchen, watching the sky blur into gray, waiting for a feeling I couldn't name. Aaron had left early, no words exchanged beyond a grunt and the closing of a door. I should have felt lonely. Instead, I felt still, like I'd stopped chasing something I no longer needed. That's when I heard it. A knock at the door. Chris stood there, slightly damp, hood pushed back. I was in the area. Figured I'd check on that back lock, make sure it's holding through the storm. I should have said it wasn't necessary. I didn't. Come in, I said instead. The air inside felt warmer than it should have. Or maybe I was just aware of everything, his boots thudding softly against the floor, the slight shake of his hair as he shrugged off the rain, the way he looked at me like I wasn't invisible. He moved to the back door, tested the lock. Still smooth. I nodded. Better than ever. A beat passed. Another. You alright? He asked, turning fully to face me. I hesitated, then spoke. I don't think I remember what it feels like to be seen. Not really. Chris stepped closer, but not too close. You deserve more than just being noticed when something breaks. His voice was low, careful. As if he understood the weight behind the moment. I didn't call you for just the door, I said. I know. The room went still. Not tense, just full. Like it was holding its breath with us. Then, quietly, I stepped forward. The space between us disappeared, not in a rush, but in a quiet, inevitable unraveling. Like a thread had finally reached its end, and the fabric of restraint gave way to something raw and real. He kissed me. It wasn't urgent. It wasn't wild. It was understanding. Slow. Intentional, like patching something broken with steady hands. When it ended, we stood there, eyes locked, breathing steady. I don't want to be someone who hides behind broken cabinets and locks, I whispered. Then don't, he said. You're not just someone waiting to be rescued. The words reached somewhere deep inside me, because I hadn't called him to be saved. I'd called because I was finally ready to choose myself, my needs, my voice. Chris didn't stay long. The kiss wasn't a beginning or an end. It was a truth spoken aloud. A mirror held up. He left without promises. Just a knowing glance and a quiet, you know how to reach me. When the door closed behind him, I stood there for a long while. No shame. No guilt, just the echo of something honest finally being acknowledged. That night, Aaron came home late again. He tossed his keys on the counter and reached for a beer, still scrolling through emails. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't notice the quiet strength in my posture or the missing tension from my voice. He hadn't noticed in a long time, and now, I no longer waited for him to. I was done fixing things alone, done waiting to be seen by someone who refused to look.